Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be replacing the trailing arm on the C-20. So it should be a pretty simple job, pretty straightforward, so long as all the fasteners, play well and aren't seized. But basically, first thing we're going to do is jack the truck up and then soak all the bolts in some WD-40 or your favorite penetrant or lube or what have you. And if I get a little extra time, I might do the carrier bearing on the drive shaft and probably the output seal. Alright, so here's what we got going on. Squirted. I got the truck jacked up on some jacks. So the frame is supported. I might put it a little bit higher, and or I'll just use another jack stand for this axle. Though honestly, I guess the axle is sitting on the floor, so it doesn't matter. I've squirted some lube on the spring, on the bolt on the bottom of the spring, and on the U-bolt right there, as well as right up there, that bolt right there. Just got that guy loose. Took used an 1.1 wrench from my set of big wrenches from Harbor Freight, because I don't actually have any good wrenches that big. But yeah, so here's why we're replacing this. Firstly, you can see the baling wire and the random piece of plate, and then right there is some dented, rusty, crusty, I shouldn't be able to put my finger through that. So we are replacing that immediately, and that's what started this whole thing. So I'm going to basically cut this baling wire off. We're going to pull the parking brake out of its little holder, and I'm going to have to deal with that because I think this is riveted, so I'll knock that rivet out so I can reuse this on the new control arm, or trailing arm, whatever you call it. And so yeah, that's about it. So now I'm going to, just start loosening everything up. Important thing is to loosen stuff before you take anything off. That way everything still, stays together while you're trying to bust something loose. I swear, you've got to make that way hotter than you think. Once you think you're good, just wait another minute. I think I had it on there for about 5 total minutes, and eventually I guess she just came. And that is with a decent torch with some MAP gas. So now I can get back to pulling this trailing arm. It's also quite smoky in the garage now. Good thing I've got my fan running. Those U-bolts are really seized in there. Alright, finally got it out. It was a lot harder than I thought. At least I was hoping. I thought that end would actually be the hardest part because a lot of times the bolts will seize in the bushing. But this one basically, this guy seized in there, so I ended up having to cut the U-bolt. I didn't want to cut the U-bolt. I did get this end loose, so I did only have to cut 1/2. And I did manage to get this to pop up just enough to slip a sawzall in there. But yeah, now you can see what was going on here. This is actually flipped, I don't know which way. But this was spot welded to the bottom. This piece is spot welded to the top. And the rest of this is super flimsy and completely covered in rust. So I am really happy I'm replacing this because this is not safe at all. Remember, I drove this thing at like 70 miles an hour home for like 40 minutes. So like, here's pieces. That's part of it. So yeah, it was a lot of beating, a lot of heating, and a little bit of cutting. So if you're doing this job and you feel like it's impossible and you need to just start cutting everything, I know exactly how you feel. So this guy is the little clamp that holds the spring down, and as you can see, that bolt is basically not there anymore. The head snapped off, which was actually kind of for the best. So I don't know if I can get a replacement one of these locally. If not, I think what I'll do is I'm going to cut it right here, put it in the drill press, and then just drill through and see if I can't re-tap that. And if I can't, I'll probably just get rid of it and weld a new nut on there. Or not even weld a nut. You don't need to weld the nut. It just makes it easier. So that's what I'll do, and obviously I'll find a grade 8 bolt to fit. Alright, got it on, everything installed. It was really just a bunch of fiddling around, nothing too exciting, but got the U-bolt in there. I didn't really see exactly what the torque spec was, but I ended up torquing it to 130 foot-pounds. That seems sufficient. The front bushing is tightened to pretty gosh darn tight. I don't know what it is. The one thing to know, those rubber bushings up front, you need to have it at ride height. So what I did was you could just put the wheel on, bounce it, but I ended up just jacking up from right here until the truck lifted off the jack, and then I tightened it. As far as the parking brake, I definitely had to get rid of that rivet. Ended up using an air hammer and a chisel and popped the rivet off, and then just stuck it on with grade 8 bolt. Same sort of thing with the spring. I've got the little plate down installed, grabbing on that spring. I did end up having to drill it out, so there's actually a nut on top of the portion that used to be threaded because it was just too far in there. I am going to be ordering a new replacement piece from LMC or wherever, but the local auto parts store doesn't have one. So that is that. So now I'm going to stick this wheel back on, and then I'm going to pull the drive shaft and see if I can take care of that carrier bearing. Should be pretty simple. It's pretty much just, there's a slip joint up there. You pull it apart, and then you, whatchamacallit, take the unbolt the bearing and slip the new bearing on. Alright, it's the next day. I made the mistake last night of going inside, eating dinner, and sitting down, which meant I had zero motivation to get back in the garage. So it's the morning, and we're going to pull that drive shaft and replace the carrier bearing. And I didn't have any elves to come in and clean up my mess, so I'll have to deal with that at some point. Alright, so first step is going to be to remove the U-bolts, the straps on the drive shaft. And when we pop that out, let's make sure that we don't lose the caps, because if you drop the caps, then well, you make your life a lot more miserable. Alright, got those loose. Now I'm just going to pry the drive shaft forward, and I should be able to get it out of the yoke. Alright, well, this is about as far as I was able to get it. So I think I'm just going to drop the carrier bearing up front and see if that gives me a little more room. It's easier with two hands, a little harder with the camera. Keep going until this drops. see if I can finagle this around and get a little more room. So I got the drive shaft up on the bench. You could probably do this in the truck, but I'm thinking about replacing the output seal on the transmission anyway. So took the drive shaft out. When you're pulling that end out of the transmission, it is also pretty useful to make sure you put a drain pan underneath, just in case it dribbles. I think mine is a little low, so I didn't get any dribbles. But it appears that this guy has a bolt through the middle, so we're going to loosen that bolt, and then hopefully that will help us extract that. I really don't want to have to push these U-joints out, but I will if I have to. So we got it clamped in the vise. I got a 3/4 inch wrench. Hopefully, oh, beautiful. I was going to say, hopefully it doesn't put up a fight while turning. Unfortunately, this is such a small opening. I'll see, I might have to find a different wrench that'll fit in here a little better. Because I got it, but only just. So I got that turning, but I can only get it like, a 1/4 of a flat. So let's see what else I got. Alright, modified a wrench. Took it to the grinder and just made it a little smaller, just a cheap Harbor Freight wrench. So yeah, now I can get full swing, get it a full flat. Now, that being said, this would be a lot easier if I just popped that U-joint, so you might want to just pop that U-joint if you're doing it yourself, because odds are, if the carrier bearing's bad, the U-joints are probably bad too, but mine feel excellent, so I really don't want to do that. I also don't have a replacement U-joint, so I don't want to mess with it. So I'm going to pull this bolt. Hopefully I should be able to get everything aligned. I'm assuming that this will just kind of move, just kind of pop off. Looks like it's moving. So I'll just keep loosening this, and eventually this shaft should come off of this yoke. Alright, now I've just got to knock the bearing out of here and slide the new one on. Alright, you could have used a bearing splitter or a puller on that, but turns out I left that at work, so I don't have it with me today. So now what we'll do is slip the new one on and then put this back together. Alright, I'm also going to just put a little bit of grease on all this, just to keep things from sticking and, help out the next guy. I thought about anti-seize, but that might wear out the splines, so just some regular old greasy grease. Now my new bearing. And now the yoke. And now I've got the fun of trying to get this bolt started completely blind. So I'm going to mess with that for a little while, and then we'll tighten her up. Yeah. All right. So one other important thing to mention, this guy is on some splines. You need to make sure that it is clocked with the other side. So this piece needs to be in the same orientation as this piece. Otherwise you're going to get some crazy driveline vibrations. Now there are two ways you could put this. You could put it this way or 180 degrees. It shouldn't really matter because the drive shaft should be balanced independently. But what you should do, and what I should have done, is take a paint pen or something and mark on each side. That way you can put it back together how it was. I'm not too worried about it, but there's a chance that there could be a driveline vibration now. So keep that in mind if you're doing it yourself. And also a little bit of tape around the U-joint caps. That'll just keep them from popping off while I'm manipulating everything. So now I've just got to throw it back in. And there we go, reinstalled. So this is future Eric a few days later. I totally didn't shoot a finishing video on that one, so we're outside on the side of the road and I'm under the truck. But so that's going to be it for today, and we'll see you next time. Well, I got the other one that way. I guess a little more heat.